So hello and welcome to One Step at a Time, Safety and Sustainability, provided by Nystrom. I'm Brad Fish and I'm the Director of Sales with Nystrom. I'd like to thank you for attending this educational CEU course. So first of all, I want to say that for over 70 years, Nystrom's been the go-to manufacturer for specialty building products. And we really pride ourselves on offering a hassle-free experience. The Nystrom website, nystrom.com, offers all of our product information that's typically required without any of the hassle of any registrations. It's open for you at any time. You'll find product shop drawings, CAD drawings, BIM files, data sheets, three-part specs, lead information, along with installation and warranty documents. We began over 70 years ago as an access door manufacturer, and most people associate the Nystrom name with access doors. We were the first access door manufacturer to produce fire-rated access doors. We're proud to consider ourselves the premier access door manufacturer in the world, and we continue developing new access door products and innovations. However, through the years, we've become much more than just an access door company. We have a complete line of roof hatches, floor doors, safety railings, expansion joints, entrance flooring, wallware, fire cabinets, and extinguishers. And we also have a complete line of stair nosings, which we're going to discuss today in our program, where we just introduced the most innovative product to come out from this product line in decades, and that's the environmentally friendly, easily maintainable, and replaceable EcoTread. Stair nosings can also incorporate the product line of photoluminescence, which is new to our offerings. And so, all in all, we hope you'll allow us the opportunity to prove our hassle-free experience when you're choosing one of our safety-related access products that help you create a safer, more accessible building. So Nystrom is an AIA registered provider. We have several CEU courses in accordance with the AIA credit credentials, and they can be earned in three different ways. One is through live webinars, both public or private, as we're doing today. Number two, on demand through Ron Blank, and that can be accessed by visiting our website and are available for viewing whenever that's convenient for you. And then in person, as it's available and requested, and that we all hope we get back to very, very soon. I'd also like to let you know that Nystrom's proud to be an affiliate of the Health Product Declaration Collaboration and offers HPDs on our products whenever possible. So now let's begin the program. One step at a time, safety and sustainability. This course is registered with AIA CES for continuing professional education. Credit is One Health, Safety, and Welfare Hour. You must complete the quiz upon completion of this course with an 80% or higher success rate to receive credit. Please save or print your certificate after completing the quiz. So this 1 hour course, we're going to go through a few steps today. First of all, we're going to look at Stairs 101. We're going to learn about concepts that are going to assist you in your building design and just the basics of what stairs are and what stair nosings are. We're going to look at the different types of stair nosings, also look at some applications, some styles, and different materials. Then transition into the innovations that have come about in the recent years. Follow that up with some codes. And then finally, some installation that's going to be really, really important that you have a good understanding of what's the proper way to install these stair nosings so that they'll perform both aesthetically and properly for pedestrian safety. And this is a real important section of it, and we'll really stop there and make sure that you understand the installation process of these nosings. So first section is Stairs 101. So what should you know about stairs? Well, they're like it says, as ubiquitous as windows and doors in commercial and industrial buildings, and they're just important. They're just as important. It's all about the egress and the movement between floors and floors for pedestrians. They're designed to meet codes, but mainly what we're trying to do, we're trying to prevent slips and falls, and we want to limit that liability on the owners. They also can be a lit pathway to exit a building during emergency or a power failure. photoluminescence can certainly play a big part in that, to make sure that we're doing everything possible to create a safe passage for pedestrians. Some terms that we really want to get familiar with. And I want to pause here for a moment because the manufacturers of stair nosings have really gotten this to be confusing sometimes, and we interchange words that we shouldn't, but they've become very commonplace and a part of the lexicon of the manufacturers. So the technical terms for stair treads is going to be the complete horizontal surface that you step on. You can see in the slide there, it's that entire front to back from riser to riser. The next term would be a stair riser, and the riser is going to be that vertical element that's going to form the space between one step and the next. Then we have the stringers, which are on the left and right sides, and that's where the treads and risers are fixed to. And finally, we're at the term that we're going to talk about today primarily, which is the stair nosing. And the stair nosing is that horizontal projection at the front of a tread where most foot traffic occurs, and that's the important part of stair safety. The majority of all stair nosings are going to be 3 inches in depth, 3 inches wide. And that is where a foot impacts the step most commonly when people are walking up and down stairs. Now, what is that interchangeable word that I talked about earlier? A lot of times manufacturers like to call stair nosing stair treads. Then when you look at your projects, people ask, do you have stair treads on them, when they're really saying stair nosing. We understand that the word stair tread is that entire surface, and stair nosing is that front portion, typically 3 inches, that's going to provide that slip resistant to help prevent slips and falls. However, you will sometimes hear that term stair tread when they are talking about a stair nosing. So it's just good to make a mental note of that and understand that that can occur from time to time. So some other terms that we're going to use today, coefficient of friction. And so coefficient of friction is just a fancy word for saying slip resistance. And how do we measure slip resistance? That's the relationship between two objects and the normal reaction between those objects. So why does that matter with stair nosings? Well, stair nosings are primarily embedded in the front of our stairs to create that slip resistance. And OSHA used to really come out and say they wanted a particular slip resistant or coefficient of friction measurement whenever they were asking for stair nosings to be installed in staircases. However, and let me back up, and that rating was 0.40, and that's generally the most accepted coefficient of friction rating that meets a definition of slip resistance. However, what's happened and what they've realized is coefficient of friction can be measured by a lot of different methods, and it can be manipulated. What are some methods? Well, you could have a pendulum test, you could have a drag test, a lot of different ways that we could come up with. A manufacturer could say, this is our coefficient of friction. However, they're always going to be done in the most ideal conditions, in the most ideal environment. What happens though when we want to consider there's different types of soles on shoes, or what if someone dropped some lotion on that stair? What would that coefficient of friction be then? So we have to be a little cautious whenever we're looking at numbers, and that's why OSHA has really backed off from giving a defining number for what they expect in coefficient of friction. We certainly want to have the highest coefficient of friction as possible, but I don't want it to be the end all whenever we're thinking about stair nosings and our applications in our egress stairways. And another word that's really moved away from, if you notice, I'm using the word slip resistant, and I'm not using the word anti-slip, because there's no such thing as a true anti-slip that's going to, under every condition, every sole, every weather pattern, be anti-slip. So slip resistance is the terminology that we want to use. So how did stair nosings come about? Well, they've been around a long, long time. And if you look at the photo on the top, that's a photograph of one of the first stair nosings that was ever manufactured. That was in the late 1800s. and it was made out of cast iron primarily, and it was for the transit systems primarily in the New York area and also on rail cars. And then if you look below in the bottom photograph, that's a stair nosing that is manufactured today. So the fit and finish and the function of a stair nosing hasn't changed in over 150 years. Still pretty much the same product. What has changed? Different materials have become available. Environmentally friendly materials have become available. Also, we've become a lot more concerned with the aesthetics to make sure that it's pleasing to your building design, that it's not just a cast iron nosing at the front of a step. Always, though, keep it in mind that we want it to be a slip resistant and abrasive enough to provide that slip resistant surface for the pedestrians as they're walking. So again, today's stair nosings, they're going to combine the function and the form. Why do we want stair nosings? Why do we continue to have stair nosings in our designs? Well, first and foremost, you can see in the bubble there, stair injuries account for more than $2 billion in insurance claims annually. And we know that we live in a very litigious world right now. So anything we can do to prevent that liability on our owners is something that we really want to inspect and do the best job we can. We want to prevent liability, and we want to give pedestrians the safest surface and the safest egress path that we possibly can. So what are ways we want to do that? Stair nosings need to meet the ADA requirements for slip resistance. They need, and incorporated in that, the biggest is going to make sure that they're barrier free so that we don't cause tripping hazards. We want to also, we want to make sure the aesthetics work. We can use different color combinations now to match our designs. We can use not just one color, we can use multiple colors in some instances. We can also incorporate photoluminescence in the event of a power outage, so that that stairwell remains lit for the pedestrians in the event of emergencies. And finally, again, it all pulls back to we want to prevent slips and falls and make buildings safer. Oops. Section 2 is stair nosings. We're going to go over some applications, styles, and materials. And so where are we going to find stair nosings? Well, quite honestly, stair nosings can be applied to any stair there is, made out of any material. Your most common applications are going to be with your poured concrete stairs, your wood stairs, or your metal steel pan stairs. Those are going to encompass on the 80-20 rule, the 80% of it. Other types of stairs you might find stair nosings on, brick, tile, terrazzo, even cast metal or carpet stairs now can incorporate stair nosings to help prevent slips and falls. So let's look at a couple of different applications. The first one we want to look at was a unique setting. You got a mall, so you've got a lot of pedestrian use that's going up and down, and they've chosen to have tile stairs and a tile surface, and it looks very attractive. It's a great look for the mall, but we wanted to make sure that the pedestrians were not walking up a slick tile stairway. So what they did was incorporate the most standard ribbed bar abrasive stair nosings on those stairs on the first 3 inches. Our next one is from the 9/11 World Trade Center Museum in New York. And what they've done with this, they really wanted to make it as subdued as possible, but also make sure they were creating a safe walkway. They decided with their terrazzo stairs to use an inset abrasive stair nosing that was of 2 ribs. And it's done a really good job in New York, helping prevent slips and falls. Our next one is multifamily housing, and this is a unique one. A lot of multifamily housing that may have had metal stairs or wood stairs have really taken a look at those stairs and said we need to create something that has some slip resistance And as you can see, this is an outdoor setting, so there could be, it's subjected to the elements. So with the rain or possibly snow, what can we do to help prevent that? What they've chosen to do was take a renovation stair tread, because it does cover the entire surface, and cover it with the abrasive bar ribs, and that's given it the surface that they're looking for. The other one thing to note on this that's kind of unique is most renovation treads have a bevel coming off the back, and they're one piece. What they chose to do, because this is an open riser staircase, is take two renovation treads, cut those back bevels off the back, and butt them together so that it encases that entire stairway. Now, that's something you could only do on an open riser scenario, but they've done it here and made it an ultra effective way to help prevent slips and falls. This would be the most common use for the renovation stair nosing or stair tread in this instance, again, because it's going to cover the entire surface. And if you look at the photo on the left, we've probably seen this condition numerous times in the past, where you've got an older building and the concrete started to wear. You can see they even at one point had a stair nosing installed that appears to be a cast aluminum nosing that's failed on them. And what are your options? Well, the first option may be to think, well, we just need to completely demolish this stairwell and re-pour it. That's certainly one you can do, but what you could do is just simply level those stairs with a leveling compound, come back with a renovation stair tread, place it in, and you have a brand new staircase that's going to aesthetically look really well, and it is also going to be ultra safe for any pedestrians walking up and down that staircase. I would pause for a moment and say, while I love this photo and it shows dramatically what you can do with renovation stair treads, I wish they would have painted those risers, and then it would have given it even a more finished look to that end product. So some other application notes. What are we working with? Well, our most common is going to be the ribbed abrasive, and again in 3 inches. So you can see the circle at the top left on your slide. It has 5 abrasive ribs of slip resistant material. It's going to have a coefficient of friction of 0.98 wet and 1.04 dry. Again, where OSHA said they want to see at least 0.40 to be considered slip resistant, this would be double that. You can use it with any step. It's new construction. It also comes in multiple options. The full abrasive, which is in the next bubble to the right, has a continuous slip resistance material. And sometimes people make an error in thinking, because the verbiage says full abrasive, that it's going to be a higher coefficient of friction or have more slip resistance than the ribbed abrasive, when in fact it is slightly less than the ribbed abrasive. Again, you can use those with any steps, typically with new construction, and comes in multiple color options. The third is our 2-stage system for poured concrete or pan stairs. And this is a unique stair nosing that was developed about 15 or 20 years ago. And it comes in 2 parts. The first part is the bottom piece, which is a base. And within that base is going to be a temporary wood insert. And that is what you're going to use during installation. And what that does is whenever you have your installation process and you tamp that base in, you don't have to worry about concrete overspray getting onto your abrasive surface, or you also don't have to worry about, whenever construction is going on, that abrasive rib surface being damaged, because you leave that temporary wood insert in during the entire construction phase. Then at the very end of construction, you pull out that temporary insert and you put your finished abrasive top in there. Another aspect that's nice for the 2-stage system is after the building is opened, if you did have damage with your stair nosings, where if it was embedded into concrete, you would be really looking at only an aesthetic fix. With the 2-stage, you could simply just replace that top. So it's a replaceable 2-stage system. Finally, the renovation that we looked at earlier goes on existing steps, and they come anywhere from 4 to 11 inches deep. Most typically, you're going to find them in 9 and 11. Other materials are cast metals, cast aluminum and cast iron. They're the two types of materials that have been around since the late 1800s, and they certainly have their benefits, and then they have their drawbacks also. Next, the extruded metal, which can be in aluminum or anodized aluminum or bronze. And then finally, our alternative materials, which are going to be on the bottom scale of slip resistance, like a VCT or a rubber, that typically is going to go in on existing stairs or for renovation surfaces. Looking a little deeper at cast aluminum and the cast iron, the cast aluminum is manufactured with 319 aluminum alloy or iron, and the additive metals are for strength and durability. And the way that the cast aluminum and cast iron nosings are made is exactly like they were made in the late 1800s. They're poured on the floor in cast sand beds, and whenever the molten metal is poured into the sand, right before the molten metal is poured in, there's silicon carbide that is thrown on, and that's what gives it that abrasive feel along with that crosshatch pattern. The problem with the cast aluminum and cast iron nosings is once you install the nosings and they begin to get traffic on them, that abrasive will eventually wear off. And when that abrasive wears off the top surface of that cast aluminum or cast iron nosing, it actually becomes very, very slick. So you have to be cautious sometimes on a very heavy use area whenever you want to consider aluminum or iron, even though you would think because of the strength of cast aluminum and cast iron, I want to go that direction, and we've gone that direction for 150 years. Know that there are probably better options now that are going to be longer lasting and much more aesthetically pleasing. With the extruded metal stair nosings that we've really been focusing on here, the extruded aluminum base, it's made out of 6063 T5 aluminum. It's also has a slip resistant abrasive that has a combination of aluminum oxide or silicon carbide, and it's bound together with a two-part epoxy. And it's important to note that this two-part epoxy that's mixed with the abrasives, the aluminum oxide and silicon carbide, is not glued in to the channels. The channels are actually formed in such a way to prevent it from coming out. Nothing about epoxy glues it down. It's the shape and function of the extruded aluminum that allows it to sit in there and give it the properties it needs. Also, with the abrasive grit nosings, your color, when you want to add color, whether it's black or yellow or red or green or whatever color you may choose, that color runs consistent throughout the abrasive material. So as you have a wearing period with the abrasive surface, you're not going to lose any of that. You're not going to have any degradation with your colors. There's also UV protectants that are put in there to make sure that that color stays bright. It's the most versatile stair nosing product. It comes in numerous different styles and also available for a tremendous amount of different applications. The extruded metals came around the middle 1980s, and that really answered the question of how do we give something that doesn't look so standard like the cast aluminum and cast iron. It really propelled nosings into the aesthetics of the design of the stairs. So other options with the extruded metal, they can come in the ribbed or the solid bar, which we called full abrasive, or the replaceable two-part that we talked about, or also the renovation. Different sizes, they can go as small as 1 7/8, even 1 3/8, all the way up to 11 inches. They can be used in conjunction to create landings. They're installed during construction at the beginning, or they can also be installed post-construction. Once again, a variety of different nosing shapes that are rounded, they're long. We also for sloped risers and sloped risers with round nosings also. The VCT type materials or the rubber type materials it's manufactured by just extruding that material, and it can come also in multiple different sizes and shapes and colors. typically installed with glue after the steps have already been in place, and ideal for a renovation with light traffic. So if we were to compare all of the different types of product of materials that you can get a stair nosing in, this is what it would look like. So with the cast metals, there's not going to be any color options. You're either going to get cast aluminum that's going to have the aluminum look, or you're going to get cast iron that's going to be coated in a bituminous black paint. With the extruded metals or the alternative materials, you can choose your color choices. There are going to be standard colors, but custom options would certainly be available. All of them can be mitered, cut, or notched out. Again, with painted undersides, why would we consider painting undersides on a stair nosing? Well, empirical evidence says that if you have aluminum and concrete come into contact with each other, that there can be a reaction. So some people choose to have that underside coated, typically with a clear lacquer on the extruded metals or a bituminous paint with the cast metals. Bituminous paint won't adhere to the extruded aluminum, so that's why you have to go to that clear lacquer. And all you're really wanting to do is create that barrier to prevent that reaction from occurring. Not going to be an issue with alternative metals because it's going to be a post-stair application. Repairing the different types of nosings that are out there. There is no repair for a cast aluminum or cast iron nosing. If it was to get damaged or vandalized, you would need to fully replace it, along with the alternative metals. And with the extruded metals, you can repair the extruded metals with the abrasive grit. However, it needs to be noted that it's really going to be for aesthetic purposes only, that it's never going to have the same function if it came directly from the manufacturer. So be careful on your repairs with extruded metal abrasive grit nosings. Tape tops is another option that the cast metal and the extruded metals can have, and that's simply to be done so that the concrete overspray doesn't get onto the walking surface. It's not to be left on during construction, because if the tape was left on during construction, as people walked on that tape, the adhesive would get marred up into that porous abrasive and it would be a nightmare to get off. So when you see the words tape tops, note that it's not for construction, only for installation to prevent concrete overspray. And then finally, photoluminescence is not currently available with the cast metal lines, but it is an option with both extruded metal products and alternative metals. So what about innovations? What's changed? What's been looked at differently? Some things that have been looked at differently since that 1800s railway days are simply this. Stair nosing manufacturers decided there's got to be a better way. How could we make something that's made out of recycled materials? How can we develop a stair nosing that's easily replaceable, unlike some of the options we just previously talked about, to where you can only have aesthetic fixes? What are some ways that they clean easier? Clean so easy that you could use a power washer on them without fear of knocking out the abrasive or destroying the nosing. And then also, what is something we could do to address this tape top scenario to prevent the concrete overspray, but also allow it to stay on during the entire construction phase to save that nosing so it's in its best possible condition when we open the building? The answer became recycled rubber inserts, and they're fade and wear resistant. They're easily replaceable. Got a lot of different color choices. They're easy to clean and maintain, and they're made out of the recycled content. And to go a little bit deeper on this, what does all that mean? So the recycled content, what is this? What is the material that the manufacturers have said, this is the going from the flip phone to the iPhone for stair nosings? Quite simply, if you've been in health clubs today, or if you've been on children's playgrounds, that surface that you're walking on, that's a recycled surface, and it's been used in entrance flooring for 25 plus years. And the engineers got together and said, well, this would be a perfect solution for stair nosings. It's going to qualify with the slip resistance that is going to be on par or equal to anything's out there. It's going to be a product that if we did have any damage or any issues with it, because this is the way it's embedded in there, you could pull it out strip by strip and replace it, even if it was embedded into concrete. And it's also because we don't have to use a two-part epoxy to lock in the abrasives. If you wanted to pressure wash it because it was in an outside condition, it certainly could be done that way also. So it's a fantastic new take on stair nosings that I highly, highly recommend you really consider on your next projects. Look at the recycled rubber inserts. It's cost savings on the front end and on the back end. Some other aspects of it is the material that it's made out of is 90% recycled rubber. The extruded aluminum base that we're putting it in is also 100% recycled. And make sure that you get a HPD declaration with your stair nosing specifications, and this new product is going to qualify for that. Some other nice aspects of it that were unintended, but certainly are nice. It's nice to step on. It's a soft step. And then it also dampens noise. So think about if you had a multifamily housing project and someone was on the end near the stairwell, or if you were at a hotel and you got the unlucky card and your room was right by the end of the stairwell. You hear people clomping up and down those stairs at all hours of the night. If you've got this recycled rubber content in the stair nosings, it's going to dampen and soften that noise. Again, standing up to the power washing, making them easily cleanable. It's a fantastic product for that. That in that alone, the cleanability makes it superior. So what we're showing here, and just simply what we've all seen in the past, on the left-hand side is a standard 3-inch wide ribbed bar abrasive stair nosing that through time, it has degraded the abrasive down below the abrasive ribs, almost so much that it's considered a tripping hazard now. Someone could catch a heel in there or a toe in there and fall, and that would not be a good scenario for you at all. But if we were working with the new recycled rubber content, and on the right-hand side of that bubble, you can see it slightly lifted up, it would be the simple replacement of one of the eco strips, and you would have a nice, fresh, perfect stairwell to walk on again. So stair treads that have been embedded in concrete, they don't have to be removed anymore. As we look at our comparisons with the recycled rubber as opposed to the abrasive grits, the recycled rubber obviously is a recycled content material. The abrasive grit is not. On the replaceable aspect, the abrasive grit, can it be replaced? Yes, but only for aesthetic purposes that are not going to give you the same function that you want. Whereas with the recycled rubber content, when you replace those strips, you have a perfectly functioning stair nosing again that's as good as if it came from the manufacturer. Easy to clean and maintain. I keep going back to the pressure washer, but it's not only that. It's you have to be careful of what type of solvents or what type of cleaners you use when you're working with stair nosings. Not going to be a consideration when you're working with that recycled rubber content. The recycled rubber content is also fade and wear resistant. The abrasive grit is also, but it not to the same degree that they have with the recycled rubber content. Both of them have numerous color options, and both also can have photoluminescent addings. So the one other item that we started on was how do we address the nosings that are embedded at the first of a construction phase, but they're getting tore up during construction. We know that we can't put the tape tops on there and leave it. So what alternatives do we have? I know that there are a lot of different options that are coming about where people sometimes want to go to the expense of placing plywood or something on all of their stairs, or even different products that completely cover the entire stair tread, riser and all, to help protect it. But now the stair nosing manufacturers have found a better solution, and it's called a construction cover. And the construction cover simply goes right over the top of the stair nosing, when it leaves the manufacturing facility. It stays on intact during the installation process, which prevents any of that concrete overspray, and it's left on the entire construction phase. And at the very end, it lifts up and breaks off at the back, leaving nothing but a brand new fresh stair nosing to hand to the owner of the new building. So it's going to save you time, labor, and money on site cleanup. As the manufacturers went around trying to discuss how much money this would save, there were many estimates that said each stair could cost in excess of $50 per stair for cleanup. And a lot of that cleanup would be having to deal with that stair nosing because of it being porous and abrasive and being beat up. So if we protected that during construction, it would be big savings on the back end. A little bit closer look of what we're talking about right here. If you look at the top left, you can see a construction site and how much dirt and debris gets onto a stairwell during construction. So it is an issue, and it's no way around it. They're going to be banging up and down the stairs. They're going to be carrying their tools. This is going to happen. So if we looked at what we could do on the far right-hand, top right-hand bubble is a construction cover that's in place that has been poured into a concrete stair. And you can see that cover would protect against any of the dirt and debris from getting marred up into the stair nosing or having any of the abrasive break out. And it would be a simple brush stroke to get this off in the end. And then the after photo obviously shows you that once you remove the construction cover, you've got a brand new stair nosing. Now we're going into some codes, and the codes that you will briefly stop here, but the handout will be available to you also. But wanted to let you know that while all of these are very, very important, OSHA, ANSI, ASTMs, Title 24s, IBC, and UL standards, each municipality really differs on what they require for stair nosings. So I implore you to work with good manufacturers that have knowledge of all of the different territories that your buildings may be in to make sure that you're meeting the requirements that each one have. For instance, for that would be in California. California came up with Title 24. And what California Title 24 said was that you needed to have a continuous stripe applied to the horizontal leading edge of the step, not more parallel to and not more than 1 inch from the front nose of each step. So way back when this Title 24 was created, the manufacturers of stair nosings got together and came up with a 2 1/4 inch wide nosing, said it needed to be installed 1 inch from the front edge, and called it Title 24 or something to that effect. Each and every stair nosing manufacturer had 24 in their product description. And that led architects to think, or building owners or who it may be, that that's the nosing that you needed to qualify for California Title 24. However, if you read it closely, you realize that the standard 3 inch wide stair nosing with 5 abrasive ribs that's at the front edge of the step already met California Title 24. It says parallel to and not more than 1 inch from the front nose of each step. Well, if it's at the front edge of the step, it certainly qualifies and meets the code. It also said that it had to be 2 inches wide or wider and parallel. A 3 inch wide certainly is at least 2 inches wide. So make sure you read the codes carefully, work with your manufacturers, make sure that you're not having to stretch out and do something that might not be a complete requirement. Now, some good things did come from California Title 24 also, especially with the visually impaired. And one of the things that the California 24 also pressed upon was that the top and the bottom step needed to be of contrasting color. And the reason they did that was so that the visually impaired would know that they're at the top or the bottom of a staircase. And that differentiation between all of the intermediate stairs was a really good step forward. And I would ask you to consider that on any of your stair designs where you've got heavy pedestrian use. let the pedestrian know that they're beginning a staircase or that they're at the end of the staircase. Section 5, so we're at estimating, installation, and maintenance. So quickly, a lesson on estimating stair nosings using our terms that we used earlier, specifically the stringers, to determine how we measure how long our stair nosings need to be. So for poured concrete, terrazzo, or a wood stair, the most standard accepted lengths are going to be the following. For poured concrete, terrazzo, or wood, take your stringer to stringer measurement minus 6 inches, and that's the length of your stair nosing. That leaves 3 inches on each side of the stair nosing. That is your most standard accepted for poured concrete, terrazzo, or wood. Now, for metal pan stairs, we want to take the stringer to stringer measurement, and then we want to deduct 1/8 of an inch. That's going to leave a 1/16 on each end. Now, why are we doing that? Well, we're doing that because the nosing is actually going to sit on the metal pan riser return. It is actually going to form more height, the 1/4 inch more height to each stair. So when they pour that metal pan stair, if we're not tight to the stringers, then the concrete's going to come pouring out. So with pan stairs, stringer to stringer, less than 1/8 of an inch. Some mounting options. We always ask that stair nosings be mechanically fastened. Many people want to know, can I glue it down? Can I glue it down? A trusted manufacturer is always going to tell you to mechanically fasten that down and don't rely solely on glue or something of that nature for a nosing that's 3 inches wide or wider. We also have cast-in bolts, which would be for cast aluminum and cast iron. Wing nuts can be in either of the cast aluminum or extruded nosings. And then finally, the most widely used is the continuous extruded anchor that runs the entire length of the stair nosing. So here's some examples of some installation. The top left just shows you some poured concrete stairs. You can see how they come in 3 inches from each end. The middle one is wood stairs, which shows a renovation tread with the bevel off the back so that we don't have a tripping hazard. And on the far right are the steel pan stairs. Again, we want to go stringer to stringer less than 1/8, and remembering that the nosing is going to sit on top of that riser return. So some techniques for installation. So if we're working with our renovation treads, which we know they're really going to save us a lot of money so that we don't have to go in there and do that demolition, we want to make sure that working with proper substrate. So preparation is going to be critical there. We want to get that surface level. No stair nosing or stair tread is structural unless specifically required, and that's only going to come in very, very, very heavy duty cast aluminum or cast iron special instances. The majority of all stair nosings and stair treads are not structural, so they need that level existing surface to sit on. So if you don't have that level system, you're asking for a failure. Final point, complete coverage of concrete on the underside of the stair tread or stair nosing. And our next slide right here is going to give you some examples. I've shipped millions of miles of stair treads and stair nosings in my life, been to numerous job sites. And when we hear about stair nosing failure, the #1 reason why it fails is going to be to faulty installation. And what we're looking at here on the bottom picture where the red circle is around it. Remember I told you that stair nosings are not structural and that stair nosings for a metal pan application need to sit on that riser return. So envision it this way. If the nosing is not structural and we've left a gap or we've cantilevered that nosing, the extruded aluminum is going to start flexing as people walk on it. Remember, people walk on that front edge of every step. So time after time, people are going to flex this aluminum. However, abrasive grits and epoxy grits are not going to put up with the flexing. They're going to crack, they're going to fail, and you're going to have a nightmare on your hands. And how can you tell if it was installation? The easiest way to do it is when you go to the staircase and you look at the nosing and you look at the poured concrete or you look at the metal pan stair, if you can slide a business card in between the nosing and the metal pan stair, they weren't properly installed. They have to marry together and they have to get complete coverage on that underside so that they will perform properly. I can't stress this enough. I see it all the time, and it's I know that contractors get upset about this, but they have to install the product the way it's intended so that it performs properly. Make sure that on metal pans, the nosing sits flush on that riser return, and that it's also not cantilevered, that front nose is pushed back against the riser. And the same with the poured concrete. Don't let them work with too big of a concrete aggregate to where it causes voids underneath it. The same thing's going to happen there, where you're going to have the hollow spots. It's going to lead to the aluminum flexing, and that's going to lead to the abrasive cracking and failing. So maintenance and repair. What do we do if we do have some issues with the cast treads? You know, we really, all we can do is we can broom them. We can use a mild detergent. Certainly, salt is fine for snowy climates. Same with the abrasive grit, mild detergents and salt. Be very, very careful with the abrasive grits, though. You don't use any solvents, anything like an acetone or a xylene or an MEK. Those are products that manufacturers use to break down the epoxies as we're working with them. So we don't want to do that, or you could lead to degradation of that epoxy. With the recycled rubber, it's really not as big of an issue. You can get a little bit stronger cleaning products to work with. You want to broom them, but you can also add that power washing we've been talking about. And then as far as repair and replacement, going back to that, we got to completely replace cast aluminum and cast iron treads. The abrasive grits, again, are for aesthetic purposes, where we could come in there and we could remove some of the abrasive and reinstall the abrasive, but it's not going to give you the function if it came straight from a manufacturer. And then the recycled rubber content, however, completely removable and completely replaceable. So this is the newest thing that's out there. Again, I'm really pushing hard for the recycled rubber content. It's the best thing I've seen in over 30 years. And I started manufacturing and designing stair nosings back in the late 1980s. So in summary, well, we started out with learning a little bit about stair concepts and how they're going to help you with your designs. Then we went into the different types of nosings and some applications or materials that were used. Transitioned into the new innovations, where we looked at that recyclable content. We looked at that newer product that could be used with the stair nosings that we've known for 150 years. We also looked at construction covers to help protect that nosing during installation and the construction phase. Touched briefly on the codes, along with, we're going to have that handout to you if you need to look deeper. And then finally, we dove into the installation on the proper way to install stair nosings and some of the biggest mistakes that are out there, and ways that you could determine if it was an installation error or if it was truly a stair nosing failure. So finally, when you're considering product specifications or selections, you can see it's best to work with a trusted manufacturer. Have someone that's going to understand the codes in your specific territories. Also have someone that's going to understand the different materials that are available and which one would be the right one for your application. Also make sure that you're working with recycled material contents. And then finally, ask your manufacturers for HPD statements. This concludes the registered AIA program. Please feel free to contact Nystrom if you have any product-specific questions. You may now proceed to the quiz for this course to receive credit. Thank you for joining us.